So the truth is, most of our clients that are moving here are moving from cities that have corrupted themselves. And so we owe it to our audience to be honest with you and answer the question, will you actually be happy living in Boise, Idaho, or is it gonna be kind of the same old song and dance as where you moved from? In this video, we're gonna be answering those questions raw, real, we're not holding anything back. Let's jump into it. Okay, so when a lot of our clients move here, they're usually not asking kind of like what's the best neighborhood and all that stuff, but what they really want to know is like, what is the pace of life like compared to what they're used to and what they're trying to get away from? I mean, what are you finding, Rachel?
Exactly. That's a huge thing, is people want to know the pace of life because they're usually coming from a city that's pretty chaotic. There's a lot of noise, a lot of agendas. They're feeling their freedoms probably tightened up on, and they want to know, like, here, what's it like? And here, like, honestly, we have full advantage of our freedoms. I think our pace of life is a little bit slower, even though we're seeing it upkick a little bit. Day to day, it just has that overall peaceful feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I think keeps that, and we had a client just the other day comment on how spread out the valley is. Like, watching the videos and home tours and all that stuff, you kind of get the sense that it's all really close together, which I will say for Boise and Meridian, very true. Those two cities kind of blend together into one. It's really, it takes a while of living here to know what is Boise, what's Meridian. But like, to go from like Meridian to Nampa or to Eagle or Star, like there's a clear cut separation, and you're like separated by like farmland and distance. And so that, I think, helps to keep this pace of life a bit slower. But I think also just the fact, like, I mean, you mentioned noise and just the chaos of it all. You know, our political environment and the entire nation lately has just gone really crazy, and everything just seems so loud. Whereas Boise, it's definitely gotten louder. Like for Rachael and I, who grew up here, it's way louder in that sense than what we're used to. But from what I can imagine, like LA or Portland or Seattle being like, I think it's way more dialed down. And that's what our clients have been telling us as well, that it's just way more chill. Yeah, so another thing that people are looking for when they're talking to us about moving here is it safer? Like, can you like let your kids go ride your bike in the neighborhood? Can you go for a walk like this on the greenbelt next to the river and not like worry about someone jumping out of the bushes and, you know, grabbing you or something? Honestly, I would say yes, 100%. However, it's not to say that like Boise isn't without its problems.
Exactly. You know, just as in anywhere else, there is evil, there is sin, and Boise's not immune to that. Even though it absolutely is a wonderful place to live, we do have drug problems, we do have the fentanyl, we do have meth, and very sad to say, we do have sex trafficking here that has even escalated in the last year. So those things are here. They're not as loud and like in our face day to day. You're not gonna see them in the news, you know, daily, but it is here. But we have enough people in the area that are holding on and fighting for wholesome values, and I think that's what's keeping us where we're at.
I think so too, and like I like what you said, that it's not really in your face. I mean, again, hearing stories from clients and stuff, like they see someone that's like kind of spazzing out on the sidewalk on their commute home from work, like you don't really see that much stuff like just out in the open. It's kind of like you have to know somebody, whether it's like a cop or like a personal family member who's struggling or something like that. That's kind of how you hear about it. And yeah, it's definitely here. In some neighborhoods you just know, or like, I'm gonna lock my doors in this neighborhood. But so super sad to know that that's here. But I like Rachel said, I don't think it's avoidable necessarily, because sin is everywhere and everyone's is susceptible to it. So that's where I think, if like, can you be happy here? Will you like it here? Absolutely, because I think it's so much less than what like those big cities are.
Absolutely.
But you also kind of have to be committed to like being part of the solution as well. You know, just like when you see something weird, like step up, be willing to stand up for a neighbor or a friend or a coworker and help someone out or have a hard conversation, things like that.
Yeah, and just know, like, kids do walk to school here. You know, there's no fear of that. My family and I, there's times we leave our front door unlocked at night to let some cool air breeze flow through. So those things are here, and that's what we love about Idaho.
Another thing that you might find interesting moving to Boise is the culture shock of moving from somewhere where they're like really like tightening and restricting your freedoms to a place where it's like it might feel like a free-for-all, to be honest. Like we were just talking off camera about a client of ours who were asking like, hey, do people actually carry their guns? And this particular client, he was just looking for a place to go to church on Sunday. So I was like, dude, come with me, check out my church. There's tons of awesome people. And so when he asked me that, I was like, hey, I don't know if you realize, but probably about like 70% of the men that we were at church with earlier today, like they were all carrying their guns on them. Like not just like owning guns and having them in a safe, but like it's kind of looked on as like irresponsible. If you own a handgun, it should be like concealed in your car or on your person to like, if something does get weird, like we were talking earlier, sin is everywhere, you're prepared for it.
Absolutely. And I think that just lends, people that are coming here are escaping where those things have been tightened down, where those things have kind of been twisted and manipulated to look like they are bad in and of themselves. And here we still hold on to those freedoms and those truths that like owning a gun in and of itself is not wrong.
Right.
You need to have the correct education and gun safety and all of that.
Right.
But it's here and we enjoy that. And I think that's what they come here and they're like, whoa, you can really do that? And so I think there will be a little bit of that culture. And that's not to say that, we have seen a shift in our culture here in Boise. Sadly, we've got a mayor that is very, very liberal, and we have the pride flag flying at our city hall in downtown Boise. We also have had the No Kings rallies and
just recently,
and different things like that. So that stuff is here. We're not immune to it.
Yeah, and on to piggyback off that, I think it's something where the whole valley in general is like where we were like very, very red state. Now it's kind of like Boise's kind of like purplish, deep purple, like not all the way blue, because I still have plenty of friends who are pretty conservative, but Boise itself is very more left leaning, whereas the further you get to like Meridian and then Nampa and then Caldwell and Marcy, basically the further away you get from Boise, the general consensus is like very conservative, very red areas of the state. And so there's just been that little bit of shift and like, the two cultures or two worldviews like blending together. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing. But I also think that culture shock, it usually comes with a sense of relief from most of our clients. So again, in terms of the culture shock, maybe you're hearing this and be like, oh, I would not feel safe with all those guns around. Then maybe you would not be happy in Boise, because that's something that most people who live here and even people that move here are stoked on. Like it's surprising at first, but then they're like, I can get on board with this. This is great.
So what we're seeing is clients that have lived in states where their freedoms have been tightened down on, they're not free to make fully all their decisions. Like they are realizing that is not what they want for their future. That's not where they want to raise their family. And so they're coming to Idaho because that freedom is here. They're wanting to reclaim that and come back to having those full freedoms. And so that's another reason that just makes Idaho amazing.
Okay, this next question is something that maybe a lot of you guys have thought about, and that's simply, are people going to like you when you move here, or are all the natives going to be super mad that you're moving to Idaho and jacking up all the housing prices? And I'll first start with like Rachael and I's opinion and just the team's opinion on this. And really, it's that like you guys that are moving here from like Seattle or LA or something like that, you're not doing anything that I personally wouldn't do myself.
Absolutely.
Your city is not what it was, what you loved it for, and you can still sell your home for a large amount of money, and you can move to a better area that more aligns with your political views and like your just family values, and you can also buy for pretty cheap there compared to what you're selling for. So like, who wouldn't do that, right?
Absolutely.
So
I think
all that to say, like, is that what we experience on like? Is that what we experience with like the day-to-day runaround? A lot of people that I go to church with are from California, and honestly, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some, yes, they say they have to think about that, and then some others say, not really. Like they haven't even noticed anything. So what's been your experience, Rachael?
Yeah, I definitely second what Cameron just said. You know, if my family and I saw that the place we were living was not aligning with how we wanted to raise our kids and our freedoms were getting encroached upon and just not being able to do things day to day, you know, we would consider moving somewhere that had those freedoms and had all the access to places we want to go and stuff. So we definitely understand that. So there is empathy on our part for people that are moving here, but there, you know, to be perfectly honest, there is some frustrations for natives here. Cameron mentioned, you know, our housing costs have skyrocketed. And so we just have to wrestle with that. But as we embrace the change and the growth here, come alongside us, help us fight for the values and the freedoms that Idaho has. And, you know, this place will remain an amazing place for people to live, raise families, and retire here.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into like the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video. And that's simply that, like, are you going to be happy here? I would say 100% yes, but you have to be the type of person, I think, that's willing to come with understanding. I think that's what makes Boise so great, is that we're still like a culture, a city culture that's like, we can disagree with each other, and that's fine, but we can still like be friends, and we can still get along and be respectful and everything. And even just the whole conflict of like, you know, yeah, all like a bunch of people are moving here, raising housing prices, and that can negatively impact the locals. But again, like I said, we can't, like, no one can blame someone for moving here if it's going to better their family situation. Like, I would do the same thing. But on the other end of the token, like, the locals are frustrated because they can't buy homes on their local wages now. So it's like both people can be right and both people can have frustrations, but like it's the empathy factor that plays into it. And so early in the video, what I was saying, like, be willing to have tough conversations, be willing to be neighborly and friendly with people. Like, just be willing to be empathetic and get along. And honestly, almost everyone I've talked to that's moved here, that is the type of person that they are. So like when I get people, you know, busting my chops about like, oh, you're a realtor, you're part of the problem moving everyone to Idaho. And I'm like, yeah, I am, but really I haven't met anyone that I wouldn't want to be my neighbor personally. Like, they've all been amazing people. If that's you guys, like, we would love to meet you and talk with you. And if you're thinking of moving here and anything we're saying is resonating with you, I think you should give us a call and we could talk about like what Idaho's really like, what your specific challenges and struggles are, and we can kind of figure out, like, is Idaho going to be a good fit for you? Is one city or another a good fit for you? Bottom line, we'd love to talk with you. Okay, so another thing that we want to talk about that, like, I think is super crucial for if you're going to be happy in a place is like finding your people. And this was something that you were really passionate about, Rachel. So like, what do you mean by like finding your people? How does that equate to finding happiness in a place?
Yeah, I mean, we were created for fellowship, and so being with people that you can align with, that are got your back, need a cup of sugar. I mean, just find your people. And even in talking, we had a client that I interviewed a couple weeks ago, and they lived here, moved to the East Coast, moved back, and I was like, how did you, like, in each place, like, what made it great to live there? And her answer was, you gotta find your people, plug in. And so there's so many ways here in the valley to find your people. First of all, like, if you go to church, like, get involved in a church and fellowship with those people. Schools, there's tons of families that you can get to know. Also, if you homeschool, there's a huge homeschool community in the area.
Co-ops
get plugged in. If you love sports, there's tons of sporting teams around that you can get involved with. I mean, pickleball is huge right now. There's tons of pickleball clubs. So there's so many areas to just plug in, find your people, even in your neighborhoods. Like, start up neighborly meetings once a month or something, and people will come.
Yeah, and that's something that I usually tell most of my clients. Like, when we're under contract on a home or they're buying their house and stuff, I'll be like, hey, let's look up on Facebook if this neighborhood has like a Facebook group. Because like, we joined ours and I always thought it was kind of lame. Like, it's just a drama fest, which it kind of is, if I'm being honest. But they also have like a lot of events and like things and reasons for people to get together, whether you're gonna orchestrate you know, a neighborhood yard sale or a bake sale, or like one of my cousins organized like a marketplace every Thursday where everyone just comes down to the local community park and they just sell their wares, whether it's kids making bracelets or baking muffins or things like that. And it's really just an excuse for everyone to get together and talk and visit, and they love it. It's like totally changed the culture and attitude of their entire community in the last like 6 months. And it's way more friendly for them now. Like they keep talking about how amazing just that one thing alone has changed like their experience living in their community. So it's obviously super important. Like I love that Rachael said we're made for fellowship, because we really, really are. Like we're made to be around and enjoy other people. So that's a huge factor in whether you're gonna enjoy living here.
So at the end of the day, can you be happy in Boise, Idaho? I truly think you can be, because we really are aiming for the same thing. Our clients that have moved here and people that are reaching out to us are wanting to escape the corruption and the loud noise and the agendas and the tightening of their freedoms. And they want to come here where we have those freedoms and the lesser loud noise and chaos. And so really we are aimed at trying to keep the same thing.
So yeah, I think it's not as hectic or as intense as, you know, like keeping our freedoms and keeping the values that Idaho and Boise has to offer isn't as intense as like going and having rallies or, you know, protesting and all this stuff. It's super simple, like not to get on a soapbox, but it's as simple as like holding the door open when someone's got their arms full at the grocery store, stuff like that. Like I've said in other videos, I think, like, but there was one time my wife is buckling all the kids in the car. We have 5 kids, and she still had her cart full of groceries with the hatch open at Costco. And some guy, just stranger, is like, "Hey, I'm gonna load up your car for you. Looks like you got your hands full with all your kids." And so it's like, it's stuff like that that's like, man, like I love where I live. Like people are so good here. Like they care about their neighbor, even if they're a perfect stranger. So if you move here and that's what you're after, like be willing to be that person as well. And I feel like I'm talking to myself too, because sometimes we get so busy in our day-to-day that we forget that like someone else standing right next to us or walking past us on this path right now has their own issues that they're dealing with. So just being friendly, being neighborly, like considering others as like more important than yourselves, I think is a key mindset that will keep Idaho exactly the way that we want it. So hopefully you found some value in this video. We sure loved filming and talking about stuff like this. So
and if there's other questions you guys have, like reach out to us. We will be very open and honest about it. So submit your questions down below.
We'll see you in the next video, guys.